Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I think we did this once before. I call it Hoggin the Covers. Now, I don't know if that's just a local New York thing, but when you're a kid, I had 7 brothers and sisters. Sooner or later, you're sleeping in a bed with one of your siblings, and they roll over and take all the covers, and that was called Hoggin the Covers. It was a terrible thing to do. We would fist fight in the middle of the night. So me and my friend Jimmy just said that one day we were going to make a punk rock band of covering everybody else's songs, and we were going to call it Hoggin the Covers. And then I just thought this would be a fun title for what we're doing tonight. So each one of us is going to take 5 covers, not necessarily our favorite covers, not the most important, but covers that we like and talk a bit about. Okay, so how's that?
Cool.
But before we do that, let's throw out everybody's links. Of course, I have Heroic Tales #2. It's live on Fund My Comic. It's so good, guys. It's so much fun. JDA made a video talking about me today, and I didn't want to correct him because he was being nice, but he was like, "Oh, and you want to get #2, guys, because it's the Patriarch fights Mary Sue." And I'm like, "No, Mary Sue's not a villain. She's a good guy." But but thank you, JDA, for the shout out. And this is Brian. You want to tell us what this is?
This is my new crowdfunding campaign. I've been doing my comic book Wolf and Batsy for many years, and over the years I've done a lot of full color illustrations of the characters. The comic is in black and white, but I have all this backlog of full color illustrations. Some of it was covers for various editions that came out in print or digital. Some of it was private commissions that I did for clients. Some of it was promo pieces. Some of it was things I did just for my own fun. And so there's all this scattered full color illustration pieces all over the place on various, art galleries online that I have or whatever. But not all of it has been printed. So I thought it'd be really nice to do a Wolf and Batsy art book, which is all the full color illustrations from over the years that I've done, and all in one book. And many of these have never been in print. Some of them have never even been posted online. So there's some stuff in here you've probably never seen. And some of it is the covers from the comics that have been printed, but with all the logos gone, all the trade dress gone, so you just get the art. And it starts at the earliest point when I created the characters in 1999 and follows all the way right up to 2024.
And look at this beautiful artwork. I'm a big fan of this comic. So I backed. I think I backed live while we were doing your launch party. I loved it. Yeah, it's so much fun.
Thanks,
cheeky,
John.
It's cheeky, but it doesn't cross any lines. Horror, cheeky. It's got everything you want in a comic book. I never thought I would like horror comics. Your comic just came to me in a bundle of everything alternate, like sight unseen. I love the art right away, but I'm like, I guess I like horror comics now. So you caused a horror awakening.
Thanks, John. Well, issue 12 is currently completely sold out. I just have one copy left for my own files, but I did this. This was another crowdfunding campaign I did last year, and all my issue 12s have sold. So I'm doing a second printing of issue 12. This edition you see here on the screen is the standard cover with new art on the back cover. That's the normal standard front cover, and then I put this new piece on the back cover to show the difference as a second printing. And then we also have an alternate variant cover in the style of 1970s Erie pubs.
Yeah,
I love that cover so much.
Yeah, look at that.
Thanks.
It's just chaos.
Yeah. Well, that was the spirit of the Erie Publications magazines in the 70s, which was they were like the most over-the-top gratuitous horror comics you've ever seen. Every cover was almost always one monster menacing a girl, and another monster trying to kill that monster or actually killing that monster, and then another monster trying to kill that monster or getting ready to kill that monster. Just mayhem. And I think they're hilarious. So I wanted to do a cover in that style.
Yeah, you're gonna like this, guys. It's a lot of fun. And then we got Fabrizio Aiello over here.
No campaign, just existing.
Yeah, but you got this. You have Horace H. Hoover. That's your page right now. This is just another comic. In my memory, I got T-Bird and Throttle Horace H. Hoover and Wolf and Batsy #1 all the same month. I don't know if that's reality, but that's the memory that I choose to go with. What a great month for comics that was. I love all three of those comics. Josh Howard, of course, is not here tonight, but his comic is doing really good. Dead at 17 revival. But you could pick up all of this. Horace H. Hoover.
Yep. First 3 issues are available. There's a collected. There's a resin model kit. There's only literally a few issues left of the first printing of those 3 books. So once those are done, it'll be whenever I do a crowdfunder for issue 4 that those will be reprinted. So it'll be a while.
Okay. Good. It's funny. I still have a lot of Heroic Tales #1 available, but I already commissioned a second edition cover, and it's funny because I famously said I don't like homage covers, but I made an homage cover because it's an homage to something else. Like now I got to spoil it. If I can find it, I'll spoil it. So I'll look for it. So let's look down at the comments. We got Zach Tan blessing everybody. You're #1, but for how long? Ernest, your comments will be judged. I hope so. I would like to be judged. John, at least say you handled yourself very well in the Zach response. Thank you. If anybody doesn't know what's so I made a video yesterday. I don't normally release video just because your boy Zach he wanted to score points against Neurotic, and I got caught in the fly. I just didn't appreciate it, and I thought it warranted a response. So go check it out, or you can watch JDA. He actually did a pretty fair response to it too. Oh, Brian, here's a question for you. Zach Ted is curious: who owns the copyright on commissions?
Well, I mean, that depends on the nature of the commission. If somebody has a project that they've created and they want me to do a piece specifically for that project, that's one thing. I usually ask for the permission to reprint it if I want for my own purposes, with giving them credit for their character idea or whatever. But normally it's pretty casual, they get the original piece. Most people are getting commissions because they're art collectors. They're not using it for another published product. You know what I mean? But that does happen sometimes. And, we just talk it out and figure out terms. And I just say, yeah, sure. If you don't want me to publish this anywhere else, you just use it for your project. Just make sure you give me credit. And, but most of the time I'll say, I request permission to keep it in my galleries online, or if I want to publish it in a book of my own collected artwork, I put a byline on there just to say whose character it is or whatever. People are usually pretty agreeable about that. It's very casual.
I never thought of that. I commissioned from you. I was just like, yeah, I never even thought I wouldn't mind if make more money, put it in a book. You know what I mean? That's fine. I wonder if anyone would be like, this is mine, and get jealous of it. But I guess you talked that out, right?
I mean, I've done commissions that were basically assignments for real projects that are coming out, real books, or I got a little teaser. I got commissioned to create the official poster for the 40th anniversary of a pretty important horror film that's coming out this summer. So my artwork will come out this summer. But
oh man, you must be loving that. That is so cool. I can't wait.
It's kind of a dream come true project. So
yeah, I can understand it. If you're commissioned to make a cover for Horace H. Hoover, say that's Fabrizio's, I guess. But if you do it, Wolf, whatever, it doesn't matter.
For this thing, it's a real movie owned by a movie studio. So I got the commission to do it, and I have permission to post it online and stuff like that with my stuff. I don't think they'd care if I put it in one of my own little self-published art books or whatever, but I can't go making a poster of that and selling it, It's kind of, that's the understanding. It's kind of their thing, I'm not going to make t-shirts of it, that'd be crossing the line, but it's a pretty friendly understanding. So
Zach Ted, is Horace related to the Hoover Dam at all?
Actually, about 100 Hoovers get together and they transform into a dam. So I just spoiled issue 4.
It's that damn transformation.
Actually, you should make a story that's the origin of Hoover Dam having the name. Didn't in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen didn't Alan Moore do the thing where it's like Hyde Park in London
Yes.
is named after Mr. Hyde because he
Yeah.
saved the day?
Yep.
Like I love stuff like that.
Yeah, me too. I smiled when I read that. I thought that was neat. So we got Dave Brink in the chat. Dave Brink makes Genuine Comics, one of my
Hello,
favorite.
Dave.
Brian just did a really, really great rave review of all the Perfect 10 books.
Yeah, I got them all at one batch and read them over just a few days all together in one little group, and well, I was really impressed. Really impressed by the writing and the art.
Brandon Smith just wrote to me and said, "Can I send you a copy of this comic?" And I get nervous when people send me a copy of a comic because, like, what if you don't like it? Like, I feel obligated to read it right away. I'm like, this guy just mailed me a comic book. You know what I mean? And
it looks cool. I saw that one online.
It is outstanding. He's going to be on the 27th. We're going to talk about
I might have to get that one.
It's a lot like, I don't think I'm saying anything mean when I say the best thing to compare it to is Stranger Things.
Okay.
You know, it's Stranger Things-esque. It's really good, really good.
Since I posted that review of the Perfect 10 books, I've had a couple of people ask me, will you do a review of my book? And I'm a little bit nervous about that. I'm like, well, I tend to like write nice things about stuff that I got interested in, went out and got, and then I had a great experience reading it or watching it or whatever it was. And then because I'm enthusiastic and excited about it, I'll post a review. But if you just send me something, there's no guarantee I'm going to like it. So I'm afraid to kind of like open myself up to that.
And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah.
I'm not that kind of channel. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like I've had a few things where, like, this is going to be mean to say, but I had a few people, can I come on your channel? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I just didn't look. And then their stuff comes on and I'm like, I got to talk about this for an hour. This looks like garbage, and so now I get a little, because I just don't want to, because then the people get like, oh, John, it was on John's channel, and now I have a bit. So my policy is if I don't like something, I just don't talk about it. If you specifically ask me about something, I'll give a response a few times. And the few times I did give negative, because people like John never gives negative reviews. I gave one famous negative review, and it caused an explosion that I'm still feeling the fallout over to this day. I don't know what to. There's no winning. There's no winning on the internet. So let's get started. So this is Hoggin the covers. We were going to do 10 covers. I think the title says 10 covers, but we realized we're going to run out of time. So we're just going to pick 5 covers. So I'm just going to start. And I got this cover. I remember the covers that I did last time, so I hope I don't repeat. So this cover, I just freaking love this cover. The original Silver Surfer series, I think they went to 18 issues. This is the 4th issue. This is John Buscema. And it's the Silver Surfer fights Thor, goes to Asgard. Talk about homage covers. This is the original. How many times have you seen this cover with just homage? It's just, I forget what year this is. Marcus is watching. Marcus, do you know what year this is? This is, if you saw this on the stands, you're getting this. Look at that. Yeah. And
I love Buscema's art, but the colors.
Yeah.
I mean, that blue and yellow and red against that black sky with just a little purple.
There's not that many solid black covers like that.
Yeah. It makes the Silver Surfer really stand out. Makes everything work. It's outer space. But I first off, this whole comic is just beautifully drawn. And I picked this one because I love the comic. I love the artwork. I just love everything about this. But to me, I always think about this story with John Buscema. Like, if I ever become a boss, and in a way, I guess I am, because I got people working with me to make comics, is like John Buscema was thinking of this. This is going to be my big deal. This is what I'm going to be known for. I got it in at issue 1, and it's a double-sized issue. This is going to be my, like, people are going to, like Will Eisner's The Spirit. You know what I mean? This is going to be my big thing. So he drew the hell out of this issue, and he brings the original art, and Stanley looks at it and just goes, this doesn't look like Kirby. and Buscema was just like, oh, yeah, well, whatever. And he was just like, okay. And Buscema said he didn't phone it in. He just dialed down his enthusiasm. Like he went to work. And Buscema was like, he wasn't asking for a raise. He wasn't asking for like, let's go up on the roof and shout. He was looking like, wow, that's great. Like an attaboy, a pat on the back. And all he wanted was a pat on the back. Wow, John, that is great. So he said like he just dimmed ever so slightly. And I every time I think of that, I'm like, guys, if you're in a position of authority over an employee, just give him an attaboy. Most people don't ask for too much. Just an attaboy. This was published in 1969. Wow. Yeah, because Buscema left superhero comics shortly after this, and it was mostly famous for the Barbarian and stuff.
I have to say, I'm really big on composition, and if you really look at that cover, I mean, Buscema is a master of that because everything in there is pointing at Thor. Like the perspective lines on the Rainbow Bridge are leading your eye into the illustration. Obviously, the Silver Surfer's entire pose is pointing at Thor. Even Thor's arms, the way they're posed, are kind of leading you up toward his face. That's classic composition. That's how it's supposed to be done. That's
the kind of comments I appreciate because I'm not an artist. I can't draw to save my life. I was the kid in seventh grade.
Even that line of the yellow hair that's sort of swinging through the air, from his face to the surfer's hand is pointing leading your eye toward Thor.
And his foot is even turned more than it should be, like in that direction with a little cape swoop over the foot.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think? Is that to show that Thor's generating torque to swing that hammer?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I never noticed the foot. See, that's the kind of eyeball stuff, you guys would do. Let me ask you this. How many point perspective is this? See, I don't know that kind of stuff.
Oh, I sucked at perspective in art school.
I mean, objects are like in 1, 2, or 3 point perspective. So, this is 2. It's not definitely not 3.
Right, because your vanishing point would be down there on the very horizon line of that Rainbow Bridge way in the back.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So I'd say 2 point perspective.
Okay. So I'm gonna pull this down.
But there's your horizon line way down by his ankles.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, Steven Spielberg tells that story about John Ford teaching him about composition, right? He says, always put the horizon line either all the way at the bottom or all the way at the top. Anything else is crap, right? Or anything else is boring, right?
Yeah. Now, do they teach that kind of stuff? You guys both went to art school,
Yep.
Yeah.
That's freshman year stuff.
I remember when I first, again, from first grade to 8th grade, I was drawing constantly, and I was like the guy. I was like in the top 3 artists in my class, which is no big deal. You know what I mean? But I remember they started talking about perspective lines, and they would take it out the rule, and I didn't want to do any of that.
Yeah,
I just want to draw Thor smashing somebody's face, and I don't want to.
Right. Yeah, perspective was my weakness. That's why I'm not good with the technical terms and stuff like that. But
yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, perspective is whenever I see people do it on the fly and it looks good. I feel like that's the most amazing talent, more so than anatomy. Just to be able to, I have to plot things out. It sucks that I have to do that.
And work torturously slow to make sure I don't screw it up.
Yeah. Marcus went to SVA, School of Visual Arts, and was taught by a lot of masters. That's funny. Gene Colan, who's like a master, like a fine artist.
Gene Colan is one of those guys who's got it. He's got the rules so down so well. He knows how to break them.
Right. That's like Jimi Hendrix. You know what I mean? He could break the rules with his music. So
but perspective and leading the eye are not exactly the same thing. I'm talking about the composition that everything in there is pointing at Thor. Even the sweep of the cape is leading your eye up from that perspective on that bridge up to him.
Yeah, and composition's funny because, sometimes it's conscious that you're doing it, and then sometimes it's subconscious.
It's innate.
You wonder. I'm like, oh, did he mean to do that? Because that's the most brilliant thing in the world. If I do it, I feel like it's accident 90% of the time.
Yeah, but then you take the credit. Yeah, that's you understand me. You get my art so well. If Fabrizio, you want to bring up one?
Sure. Okay, so let's see. This is like 85, 86. I'm like 10 years old. So this is
Sex Doors 2 or something.
this is this is the most important cover of that age.
Oh, the zit cream?
It's the best.
Oh, it's funny. This is one of them I looked at. This is one of them that I looked at.
So I'm pretty young at this point, but man, I love this classic burn. Two Sasquatches fighting.
Right.
Like I was just obsessed with the anatomy for this. And that's kind of all a 10-year-old boy needs is two monsters.
Oh yeah. Tell me you wouldn't have picked that up. Brian, you got that right off the shelf. Two monsters fighting on the cover of the comic.
Yeah.
And you're a Bigfoot guy, so yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, that's Sasquatch.
The only negative thing I could say about that cover is I hate that costume on Aurora. I love the black and white costume.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't really looking at that. And this comic, not to get into the book itself, but it's got some great scenes, some like intense scenes that you're not expecting. Yeah, it's just two monsters fighting with a big blue cover. For me, it was anatomy. Like the anatomy for Sasquatch here, it's so good. But I don't have too much to say. The colors are great.
I loved Alpha Flight, but I was always a little frustrated by Alpha Flight because the team never really got together to do stuff outside of the first issue. It was always just like I think this is the most team members assembled in a long time. You know, every issue is almost like side quests. You know,
yeah.
Well, the team members, that has nothing to do with the cover, but yeah, I agree. That is a striking cover. I tried not to pick any George Perez and John Byrne just because I think the last time I think they dominated my list.
What I respond to a lot in that cover is the heavy black shadows on the underside of things, because that really creates a sense of weight and mass. You know what I mean?
Like over here, right there. Yeah.
And under that bicep on the Yeti there, on his, well, both of his biceps, he's got those big shadows.
It's a pretty unique pose too, like grabbing the waist like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is really it crosses the line between like a bestial and civilized fight. You know, like they got fists. Okay, it's gonna be a barroom brawl, but then like he's grabbing them like an ape would. You know, yeah. And then look at all the rubble on the bottom. You know, just whatever they were in is destroyed.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Mark, that Byrne didn't want to do Alpha Flight.
Is that true? I thought that was one of his passion projects. I thought he was.
Yeah, I just assumed he loved them because he created them and then went off to do them. But according to Marcus, he was assigned to do it. You know,
I'll be honest, it wasn't one of my favorite books, but there's specific issues that I think are really good.
Yeah, I agree. Like, what number is that? 23?
23.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't even remember John Byrne staying on it for that long. Like in my mind, he left super early. You know, and then Alpha Flight just stumbled along. I can't believe it lasted like 125 issues.
I didn't know that he didn't like it. I thought that was one of the ones he was really into.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of sad. All right, Brian, you want to go?
Yeah. All right, this will surprise you. Starting out with something very innocent, but very true to my comic book education.
I'll make that big.
Fury of Firestorm, The Nuclear Man, Annual 3. All right. I'm known for my horror comics, but I got to tell you, when I was a kid, there was, I bought a lot of random different comics, anything with monsters on it or whatever. But there came a point where I started getting hooked, where I had to get every issue, and I started to become a collector, and the addiction started. And this was one of the comics that started that addiction.
It's so funny because that's so different than anything else.
Right. Well, I'm starting out innocent, but I don't know, man. This was, let me see, I found the date on it, 85, which would have made me about 13. So I don't know, man. I just dug that yellow and red suit and the fire coming out of his head. And also, I caught on to Fury of Firestorm pretty close to when it. I guess I had some random issues before this third annual came out, so I had some of the earlier ones. So it was very easy to go back and because that's when comic book stores really first started popping up in my town too. So I was able to go back and get the back issues really easy and start reading it from the beginning, and became a collector of this series. And it was one of my favorites, and he's my favorite member of the Justice League. And so I know it's not horror, obviously, but it's an example of every time I see this cover, it just makes me happy because it takes me back to that perfect time when I was in junior high or sixth grade or whatever, seventh or sixth grade, whatever grade I was in. When I was, I don't know, I guess I was 13. I would have been in the seventh grade, I guess. Anyway, that perfect age where you just, it's kind of before you really get into girls, but you're a little too old for toys, and comics just are the perfect satisfier in between. And I started really collecting every issue, reading every story, and I just love this guy. I just love this character.
I gotta say, the costume, the costume is bad but awesome at the same time. Like the puff sleeves, and it's amazing.
And I'm incapable of seeing anything bad about it because of when it came out and the age I was at, and my brain was just primed for. 85. So Star Wars is over. I'm looking for something new. I'm not quite old enough to really get into girls yet, but I'm a little too old for toys. And I just got really hooked on comics. And Firestorm was my favorite DC series. And it's one of those things where it's every time I see this cover, it just takes me back to that time and that perfectly innocent. Comics are new and exciting. Oh man, this cool thing. I got to learn how to draw like these guys. Kind of period. So,
yeah,
he's one of my favorite character designs, like him and Blue Beetle, and you said, I don't know if it's an objective thing or not, but the red and the yellow, the concept of the professor and his brain, love it.
His head is a nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
I always wondered, how does he walk in a room? Stop setting the door on fire. And the starburst on his. He was my favorite superpowers figure. And Raphael Keanan was the artist who has become better known for doing more like Conan type stuff. And,
who is that Pat Broderick on that cover?
No, this is Raphael Keanan. He's the guy that took over after Pat Broderick. And I like Pat Broderick's stuff, but Keanan was just dynamic in a way that blew my mind at this age. So it's more for nostalgia. But I think this actually is the issue that I got in '85. I think this is the copy. But I have been at thrift stores and antique stores where they have comics, and if I see this cover, it's like seeing a little puppy that needs a home, and only I know how to take care of that one. So I have to I've bought this comic 3 times or just seeing it places. You're coming home with me.
if I go to a comic book store that I've never seen before and they have a back, I tend to look at comics I already have, and then I go to look for other stuff. But it's weird. I have all these comics. I just want to look through them.
You get a little jolt when you see a cover that you grew up with. There's just something about it.
Yeah. Yeah, especially at that age when you're just turning into a real collector.
From 10 to 13, I think what you liked when you were 10 to 13, you like for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's why I like the Bronze Age Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an innocent time.
We lost
You lost me?
No, John. We lost John, yeah. It's a good thing I started smoking at 10. No.
Am I back?
Yeah, you froze up on us there for a second.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you guys froze up. But I'll say at 10 years old, the movies you like, the comics you like, everything. That's the house that you lived in at that time. That's
But and also the comics you discover at that time, you read over and over and over again.
Yeah.
This is the one where he fought Typhoon, who was kind of his opposite number because he's a cold rain storm kind of character. It's just it's just pure awesomeness. I love this comic.
So I just realized that this is the same artist again, but here's my next comic. Oh, I didn't realize.
Go ahead. That's right. Go ahead.
Show your panel.
Well, I was just giving a sample of some of the crazy poses that he does. Oh, of course, I lost it.
You got the superpowers ad on the back too. Oh yeah, look at this.
That's so
Look at this.
good.
Yeah.
You want to talk about perspective? I mean, look at that city.
Yeah.
And that's not tracing a Xerox either.
Yeah. And
I mean, look at that. That's a splash page, man.
Yeah.
He's up against the sun. He's awesome.
Yeah. So here's my second choice. For the longest time, the Vision was my favorite Avenger.
Oh, this is a classic.
And of course, it's because I started collecting the Avengers around 150, and I had scattered earlier issues, but 150 is when I started realizing what the numbers meant and getting them, and that was like the whole Wonder Man came back, so it was kind of like a Wonder Man, Vision, Scarlet Witch love triangle, and then the Vision got taken out by Ultron, and he was like this scary thing living in the basement for a while, like in a coffin, and then he comes back and starts kicking ass. He was just this cool, mysterious, evil looking, like he does. He looks sinister. He's created by Ultron. I forget was he created by Ultron in the movies? I forget. But he was created by Ultron.
Yeah. He was created by Ultron. In the movies, it was Ultron's intelligence seizing hold of Jarvis. And then they merged and became the Vision. I think he's great in the movies. I think Paul Bettany was awesome as the Vision.
Yeah, I thought WandaVision was like one of the last good things that Marvel put out. I actually enjoyed that show. I liked the whole.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, look at this cover. Tell me this. It's like this devil just shows up, and he's just scared. And I didn't know it at the time. It took me years before I realized this is an homage to a golden age. Atlas Comics, which was the precursor to Marvel, they had a character called Vision, and Vision was this green skinned, he had the diamond cowl, whatever, and his power was he would materialize from another dimension through smoke. So that's why there's all this smoke here and the Vision showing up. So I'm sure like Roy Thomas is always like copying the old comics. He knew exactly what he was doing. I'm sure there was old timers at the time. They're like, oh, it's the Vision from the Golden Age is coming back, but I didn't know that. This is Buscema inked by George Klein. Yeah. What is this comment? Vision is a great character. Ultron's a great character. Avengers had so many great characters. It Creators Outlet. Hail nerds, how you doing? Yep, you joined the right place. But I just love this. The Vision just shows up and he's stalking Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp, and scaring her, and then he just has like a crisis of conscience and turns on Ultron. I love that the Avengers like had so many heroes who started out as villains. Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, Vision,
even Hulk in a way.
Wonder Man. It really is like the the place to go to reform. You become a good guy.
So covers like this, where it's mostly just a Vision, like the confidence that you need in whatever it is you're drawing. So the anatomy, like I don't have the confidence just to take one character and like put him in the center of a page like that. But if your anatomy is that good and the pose is perfect, that's all you need.
A straight-on figure is really hard. Getting that not quite symmetrical, but kind of close to symmetrical thing is really tough.
He is off a little bit. Like if you were to poke the exact center, it would be like, to the
but
left.
Humans are off a little bit too, like we're not perfectly symmetrical. So, yeah. But having a character just standing and not even doing a crazy pose, just standing up straight, facing front is trickier than you'd think.
This is a comic. Like the only one I could afford was kind of beat up. So this is like a comic. I'm looking for a decent copy to replace the one that I have.
And of course, the other thing about that too is the color.
Yeah, it's all.
I mean, that's so bold,
Even the corner box is red.
Yeah.
The corner box, all the letters, the Avengers, behold the Vision. The smoke. Yes, it's so cool.
It would be a fun piece of comic history to find out whenever this hand pose thing first start, like the first place that was ever put in a book.
Well, I'm sure the Spectre must have done that like decades before this. Spectre judging everybody. They need to Rook lettering for Behold Division. They needed Rook 2 lettering. I don't get that comment. Do you know what he means? Good heroes that look evil can be interesting. I think it's often handled poorly and it seems a bit overdone. And yeah, I that's like one of the things. The Vision, like he talks robotic, his emotions are off. So like a lot of like Nightcrawler. I remember I used to love that. Kitty Pryde would always flinch when he would show up. I kind of like that. Even though you're in a group of misfits, Nightcrawler was still even a bigger misfit.
Well, I think we're all old enough to remember when, the late 80s, early 90s. When Wolverine and the Punisher first started really becoming popular, and all of a sudden that anti-hero thing started. But that was really shocking in a way. Like it was, because before that it was like superheroes were good guys, and
they were goody goodies.
Yeah, so I think in a weird way, even though I liked that whole anti-hero movement, I was the perfect age for it. It kind of ruined that whole thing where an evil or scary looking superhero is a surprise anymore. You can't have the same impact with that anymore like you could.
So Fabrizio, what do you got?
All right, so I'm not saying I had an acne problem, but
oh,
how funny!
Yeah, just one of my favorites.
That is so funny.
I love this.
With Killer Frost and Plastique.
Oh, so good.
I loved both of those girls.
I won't spend too much time on it, but there are a couple of shots in this that are just so good.
This is Raphael also, right? I can't say his last name.
Yeah, it's funny because at the time when this came out, he does like where Spidey's under the machinery with the water, and he does something like that in here under ice. But at the time, I didn't know the Spider-Man reference.
Right.
But look at that,
Mm-hmm.
just so good.
Oh, here's you just that page you just were on, the opposite page. If you go back where you just were, one of the things as a kid one thing I loved about Firestorm as a kid is that when he would use his powers, he wasn't doing this, he wasn't doing this. He would shoot his powers from his fists.
Right.
And even the superpowers figures had the fists. And there was something about that was so different and cool too. Like it was different and unique.
He was a pretty complicated hero too. Like he was, like if you remember, like he merged. Dr. Stern didn't remember the merging.
Martin Stein, yeah.
He was always like just showing up someplace. Like how did I get here? To the point where he thought he had like mental problems.
Yeah, because it was the fusion idea of the nuclear. Right.
So Rodney was in control, and then later on they became like they both understood, and then it would start to bicker kind of things, and then one could call Firestorm, and the other guy's like, "Don't call me."
Yeah. But I loved the Killer Frost character again as a foil to Firestorm. And there's another great cover. It's earlier in the series, I believe, where it's that you probably know it, Fabrizio. It's the purple cover where he's holding her.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good one too. But yeah, it's so funny. I swear we did not plan this.
No. I want to say about Killer Frost, she is evil. It's like she literally would kill people for like she was like a thrill killer, and she it was, and at the time when I got these comics, it really disturbed me. Like this might as well have been horror, because when she showed up, people were dying. Like the Joker killed people, but not as much people back then as he does now. But Killer Frost would show up and literally everybody would be frozen, and then she would like laugh as she shattered their bodies. And I always wanted like Firestorm to like kill her. Like she was like to me like Satan just showed up.
She was trouble.
Yeah, she was a bad. And Plastique, I had a crush on her.
Me too.
Yeah,
the way Raphael Keanan drew both of those characters was.
Yeah. I don't know, but I really did like. And after Raphael left, I forget the artist who took over, but did you still collect it when he met that Russian character? Like I think
That made me mad as a kid. Oh man, that was like as a kid, that was my first big, like, what are they doing in comics?
Yeah. Can't they chain him to a desk and keep doing what I want?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they did the coolest thing. It was absolutely brilliant. When the real Chernobyl disaster happened, they put it in the comic book.
Right, yeah.
And that was supposed to be the death of Firestorm, was the Chernobyl. He was there. But instead they changed his costume and turned him into something else, and it just kind of ruined it. And even as a kid, I was like, I love him. I don't want to see him die, but that would be the most awesome death for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like mind controlled her to be like submissive or something. Yeah, because she was trouble. She would have like killed the world, like, because she was like because like the Joker, you expect him to be a sociopath, but like a beautiful woman, just like, I don't know, you're like kind of attracted to her, then she's just killing. She was just, I really do. She's one of the worst villains, like, as far as fearsome.
Yeah.
Like, she's a great villain. When I say worst villain, she's great. Yep. Hey, Brian, you got something?
Yep.
I just get a choice. All right. More Firestorm.
All right. One of my all-time favorites, and you'll see the influence this had on me immediately, I think.
Oh, yeah. Great.
X-Men 163.
That is a great cover.
Yeah.
With Kitty Pryde being attacked by the Brood. I mean, so I forget what year this one was. Marcus might know, but I had to have been, I don't know, 11 or 12 maybe. Yeah. I mean, hey, don't cover up Kitty Pryde's legs like that. I mean, okay, so as a young boy, this is...
Who drew that cover?
I think that's Cockrum, right? David Cockrum.
Is it Dave Cockrum and Dave Green as the inker?
I could probably look in the
yeah, it's Dave Cockrum.
Bob Weissek. As
okay.
But I mean, look at that. I mean, it's monster, really awesome, gross, drooling monster.
Yeah,
cute girl, great legs, look of terror. I mean, this had an influence on my imagination.
Yeah, this whole
say the least.
Yeah, I remember you said before that you, as a kid, you had a crush on Kitty Pryde.
Absolutely.
She was great. Yeah.
I mean, my own character, Batsy, a lot of her personality, if you think about it, is very Kitty Pryde-ish,
Yeah, I mean, I think she was 13 when she joined the X-Men. I think I was 13 when she joined the X-Men. So you couldn't help but have a crush, because I was 13. Storm wasn't going out with me.
Right. Yeah, she was like the all-American dream girl character.
Maybe,
Right. Speaking of composition, like the bug literally closes.
Yep. And look at the tail pointing up to her, and then the legs.
And it's two stingers.
And yes, you got this tendril pointing at her face. I mean, Marvel was great about this in the day, leading your eye, drawing you in. And again, perspective lines are pointing you deeper into the illustration right here. And the wall.
Ernest's mind is blown away when he says that Batsy equals Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, I always said the secret formula for writing Batsy is Jill Banner from Spider Baby, Winona Ryder from Heathers, and Kitty Pryde, as written by Claremont. You combine those three personalities into one stew. That's kind of Batsy's personality.
He went to that's one of the best costumes of all time.
What, this torn up thing?
No, he says the Bronze Age Carol Danvers one piece unitard with the Dave Cockrum design.
Yeah.
But I do love it. That Brood. It's got that piranha face, and it's got that whatever like alien monster tendril, and then
the teeth.
Yeah, then the insect stinger, and then to make it even grosser, it kind of has like a patch of fur, like inside the comic, if I remember correctly, like where the wings meet. Like a bumblebee has that like little. It's just gross.
The segments, and also another thing that's brilliant about this cover too, if you want to get all art schoolish, is the color theory on it. Because red and orange against that purple and blue. I mean, that's classic color theory right there.
Yeah. What is purple supposed to be like fear or something, or danger. Or something. I don't know.
Well, we didn't really get into that in art school,
Yeah.
the psychological stuff, but purple is what the opposite of orange, right? On the color wheel, right, Fabrizio?
Yep.
So you put a purple against a yellow, boom, right there, it pops. Or this thing here, right? Or these orange things here, right? Or, you know, any of this orange and yellow colors
That is
against
the cover. That's a good one. What number is that?
163.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it seems a little silly to say your all-time favorite X-Men cover is, you know, a monster and a girl, as opposed to the superhero characters, but this one ranks high on my list.
It's funny because I know, like, for most people, it's like later on Claremont is the definitive X-Men, but to me, this was like, to me, this is Claremont winding down. You know, that's you'll be seeing. I'm gonna be talking about the X-Men for a little bit on my Sunday comics.
My favorite, my personal like sweet spot for the X-Men is really the Paul Smith run, even more than the John Byrne stuff, because again, that's when I really got hooked on it, you know. And I mean, I love the other runs too. Of course, I love the John Byrne run, I love the Silvestri run, I love all of it. But that whole Claremont era is great. But really, that Paul Smith era was when I was really getting hooked and going, who is this Wolverine guy? Oh my gosh, Nightcrawler's awesome, and the Silver Samurai and all this stuff, you know, and the Brood. Well, this is Dave Cockrum, isn't it? But it was right. This was right before that.
Zach said right. Like the yellow or purple is contrasted in the beauty and repulsive, you know, and it's just something like she's got like these prominent legs and then they got scars on them. Like, guys, I know it's mean to say in this day and age, but like you feel bad for her right away. Nobody wants to see a beautiful girl in danger.
Yeah, you do.
You know, ugly.
That's the fun part.
Yeah, ugly girl in danger. Nobody.
Whose side you on, John?
The Bugs.
I'm a Monster fan. He's gonna get her.
Speaking of the coloring, though, just imagine that with modern coloring. Like it would be.
Oh, they'd ruin it.
It would be a blur. You wouldn't be able to tell the foreground from background.
Yeah, every little panel would be colored.
No,
you know, like that machinery is just. I could see the lines. There's little panels. There's like an air vent.
Yeah,
everything.
This would be all airbrushed with chrome shines and lens flares.
Yes.
But meanwhile, it's like all you need is that solid color and then a solid color opposing it, and it pops.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm gonna. Is it my turn?
Yeah, although it's hard to take this one off the screen.
Yeah, I do like that. I like that Brian's like, the poor monster's just hungry.
Yeah, come on.
So here's my next choice. Matt Wagner's Way. And first off, I love this because this was like Comico Comics. I'm trying to think. I think I even got this before the Elementals. So I think this might be the first like non-Marvel, non-DC comic that I just got obsessed with. I was like, you know, like you said, you got into Firestorm at the beginning. So I got into Comico Comics at the beginning, and I was like, oh, wow, this is like my comic company. And these were comic book shops only. So, like, you know, that kind of felt cool, and it was a new experiment. Yeah. And then this is going to sound weird, and I don't mean this in a mean way, but, you know, this was the beginning of Matt Wagner, the creator of this, who's just a phenomenal artist. But the way he drew here, it wasn't like polished. Like I was looking at George Perez and John Byrne and you know, Walt Simon. I could never get to their levels, but at the time I thought with some practice I could get to this level. So to me, this was like encouraging.
I totally relate to that.
Okay.
Because there is that, it's like that is one thing that's really appealing when you're at that age, when you're trying to learn how to draw and you see a published comic book artist who, I mean, even I always used to think like Wagner's art in Mage looks like the way like the best artist in high school could draw.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like he's better than me, but I could get there, you know, and that's encouraging.
Marcus says he's older than all of us. This comment by Zach Dan makes me giggle. Kitty Pryde, she must have made the unmistakable mistake of kissing in a horror movie. It's funny that you say that because I Have a Heroic Tale story explains why monsters are always going after people fooling around, but I'll get to it someday.
Well, in Wolf and Batsy issue 10, I had Batsy say that pretty young girls have the most nutritious blood of all.
Well, there you go. There you go. I
Little known fact, only to monsters.
I'm sure they do. Yeah, they got a lot of delicious things. Those pretty girls, but I got into why can't I think of his name? Jack Parsons, who may or may not make an appearance in Heroic Tales someday. And I just got fascinated with him. I read everything about Jack Parsons, the founder of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and inventor of solid fuel rockets, who's like step one of getting us to the moon and everything. But he was also a magician by night. And one of the things that he was fascinated with was sex magic. And I won't get into all the gory, lavacious details of it. But one of the act of making love produces orgone. And orgone is creative energy. And he would do it in a magic circle to contain the orgone energy. So I was just thinking, if you're an undead monster, orgone would be painful to you. Because it's creative energy and you're dead. Or maybe you need it. Oh, that's like candy or something like that. So if there's a stalker, not a stalker, a slasher anywhere in your whereabouts, and you're doing sexual activity, creating orgone released into the atmosphere, do it in a magic circle so it doesn't freely attract the slasher. Protect yourself. Sleep in magic circles, everybody. Or this guy's gonna like whatever. It's painful and he's gonna lash out to get rid of it. I haven't decided where I'm gonna go with it, but that's anyway. Has nothing to do with it. But look. Everything about this I like. Again, this I don't mean to be mean to Matt Wagner, but like to me, this was achievable. Especially now I'm mad I don't have the comic in front of me.
That's the charm of it, though. I don't think that's mean at all.
Look at the first 4 pages of the inside. If anybody has access to this, look at the first 4 pages. The lines are wobbly, kind of like how Charles Schultz drew Peanuts. Like I could draw like this. It's not perfect. And like and it was minimal. Like there was a corner, so the perspective. Like taking out that ruler and everything like that doesn't really take up too much time. I really liked, and that's just the story. This to me was like one of the comics every month. Of course, it was late because it was Comic-Con and everything. But me and my friends were like chomping at the bit to get to the next part. Like we were looking at every, like, oh, this is why this happened. This is why this happened. Like it was like I got the same out of this before the Watchmen. Like the Watchmen every week, every month. I was like, oh, this is why this little clue is in there. This is. But to me, like, oh, the bat is, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's ever like, this is what the bat symbolizes. This is why he's this. Oh, that's who the magician is. So that means he's this guy. And it was so cool. I really liked it. To the point, I still haven't read the 2 sequels yet. I love this so much that I'm afraid I got them all. They're like 2 15-issue series that follow up. And I haven't read them yet because I'm like, they're only going to diminish how much I love this. Yeah, Comico still owes people money. Good luck. Yeah, that shirt looks like Black Adam. I bought like 3. I bought the black shirt with the white lightning bolt, but the thing is, back then the printing wasn't that good, so it was heavy ink. And it would just crack after like it just like nowadays like my shirt. If you go to my comic and buy it's sublimated art, so that the ink is in the fibers itself, so it'll never wash away. It'll never crack. But this was just a black shirt with like heavy paint just painted on it, so you wash it and it would start to peel off. I was so bad. Now I want to get a shirt like that.
Yeah. Speaking of like the best person in high school's art, it's something that I think about still to this day is like things that are outside of like the academic technical side. They deviate to some degree, but for some reason, sometimes the deviation people go nuts for it. And then the other deviations, people just hate it and will not, and it's fascinating to me. How is that measured? How, like, you can't judge it. It's just for some reason, Matt Wagner sticks. And, me in high school didn't.
Kevin Matchstick is the main character's name, and he had like these stubby little arms. Not because he was deformed; it's just that's the way Matt Wagner drew. Like perfect, and even this coloring is great.
Yeah, it has that mid the late 80s.
You can
kind
tell
of, yeah.
I love that. So who's next? Who wants to go next?
I think I'm next, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. This is just a fun one.
Oops.
Hello.
I hit the wrong button.
This is one of those. I don't know if it's really the most technically amazing, beautiful cover, but
well, that's not what we're doing.
I know
it's
one of my favorites.
That's all. That's the only criteria.
Yeah. So, and I was, to be honest, who's the artist in this?
Those are great monsters.
It up. Chris Warner. Oh my God. The character design.
That guy on top.
Like the first double page spread.
Skull lizard mask. Yeah, that is great.
I mean, to this day, I like. It's one of my favorite things.
That is awesome.
Yeah, you got your main character dying. You have her popping up. Really well done. The solid colors in the background. It's funny because again, talk about confidence. I still don't have enough confidence just to slap a solid color in the back of the comic, but you just have two colors. You have this purple and then you have this red orange, but it looks so good.
It's funny, guys.
That hand.
I'm gonna reveal something now that may diminish you in your eye, but I always found it like sexy when like a girl wears a male superhero's costume, like not like today where they just transgender swap and stuff like that, but like when you see like for whatever one like a what if they had like an issue of what if there was a female Spider-Man and it was just like that costume but on a beautiful girl's body.
Yeah.
So like I always like that cover too because it was like, oh, that's the female. Like a couple of issues, Lois Lane wore Superman's outfit. And I'm like, oh, that looks sexy on her.
And
that is awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, look at that figure. And again, you want to talk about those heavy shadows giving the character weight?
Yeah.
Look at how massive he looks.
Look at that sword. That sword is like a column of fire, the sword, and it's got 4 prongs on it.
Yeah.
All right, I need to go back and reread Doctor Strange. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
It's just really well done.
People are teasing me in the chat. That's fine.
So you know what else is tricky is the folds on that skirt. As someone who draws a comic with a female character that wears skirts like that, sometimes that is tricky. Josh Howard is great at doing that.
I remember I drew. It was like a barbarian guy. The barbarian, like they have that like loincloth. So it was like his. So just look at this woman right here. But instead of the skirt, just picture like a big droopy loincloth, like Odin typically wore.
Right.
And it's funny because I drew it and I was so proud of it. And one of my friends just looks at it and goes, "What's with his balls hanging so low?"
Oh man!
I'm like, all right, I'm done.
But it is tricky to get those kind of folds like that on a skirt. Look at that, how it goes in and out, in and out. So I admire someone who can do that well.
This is a small artist thing. I don't know if you do the same thing, Brian, but I always stick the two center fingers together. That's like my go-to.
That's an Alan Davis thing. He did that always. I feel like I learned how to draw hands from looking at Alan Davis's women hands and Frank Miller's male hands. Like Frank Miller always did the big blocky male hands that look like they weighed a ton, and then Alan Davis drew the most graceful female hands, and he would always do that with the 2 middle fingers touching. I do that too because of him.
You're Alan Davis. So I remember, like the hands always look like flippers.
I never thought that.
But flippers, like you know what I mean? Like look at Doctor Strange's hands there. You can almost, picture like your brain can fill in the gaps of the negative space between the fingers.
I guess, but it's like because your hands are rarely just like this, now you got
me. I'm looking at my hands in the camera, like how are my hands?
But it's just one of those things.
But look at the way Alan Davis draws hands. I mean, the way he draws his women's hands are elegant. They're like, you know what I mean? I picked that up from him. So I do that myself. Yeah.
All right, one last thing in the composition. I mean, we have a giant stick going right into him, and then up there.
And anytime you do a triangle like that, grabs the eye.
Yeah. See,
that's a Frazetta thing, you know. Frazetta would always use triangular compositions like that.
All righty, I think we're good.
Was it my turn? Okay. Okay, here we go.
Oh, I was waiting for something.
I did not take this out of the bag because this book is from 1952. Part of my pre-code horror comics collection, but one of my favorite pre-code horror covers ever. Black Cat Mystery, number 37.
Is that a tombstone with all that text? Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But you got the girl in the diaphanous flowing nightgown and these zombies. I don't know how well you can see them, but they are just great. So much personality on these guys. Look at that guy.
That guy's like a blue collar worker.
I'm coming. And these guys.
Overtime. I got to get out of the grave for overtime now.
This guy with the rotted teeth. I mean, I was phenomenally lucky when it came to pre-code horror comics. It was before all these Craig Yo reprint books came out and the PS Publishing reprint books, and you know, the internet picked up on it and started putting the images all over the place, and now you see pre-code horror stuff all over the place. But about 3 or 4 years before that, there was a comic series that came out from some small press publisher. I don't remember which one, but it was called Tales Too Terrible to Tell. and it was printed like a comic book, but it was inside. It was all text and small images showing you pre-code horror comic covers that were not EC. I already had all my EC reprints, but this opened my eyes and made me go, oh my gosh, of course there were all these other publishers that kind of jumped on the bandwagon and did their own horror comics, and they're fantastic. And I just kept thinking, nobody's ever going to reprint those. I got to start collecting those. And so I started going to all the comic book conventions and just digging in the back issue bins, and they still had 1950s pre-code horror comics for very reasonable prices because nobody either knew about them or cared about them, and they hadn't spiked. And I bought a lot of them. Basically, I just looked at my Tales Too Terrible to Tell issues, and I started looking on the internet for small. It was so obscure though at the time, but you could find images and information, and I just started making a list of like my favorite covers. And every time I'd go to the comic book convention, and this is when I was working in animation too, and I had money to burn, so I just go and blow 1 week's paycheck and just buy 50s horror, pre-code horror comics. And so I got a lot of good ones. And then only a couple years later, the Craig Yo book started coming out, and all of a sudden everybody knew about them. And now you can't even find them in the back issue bins at the shops anymore. And on eBay, the prices have skyrocketed. And I just got super crazy lucky with the timing on that. It was just following my interests is all it was, just with the right timing.
Warren Kremer, the creator of Hot Stuff and Wendy, drew this cover.
Yeah, Kremer was one of the major guys in Black Cat Mystery. And I got all of the Harvey, I think, in my opinion, is the best of the horror comic publishers after EC. And in a way, I like that certain things they do better because the art is just as good, maybe not as flashy or professional, but it's still just as fun and stylized. And they did great monsters and great girls and great atmosphere. But the stories are even weirder than EC, because EC would always try to put a little bit of a moral in there to the story. These guys didn't care about that at all. It was just horror for horror's sake. You know, there's going to be monsters, and there's going to be scantily clad girls, and there's going to be violence and blood and gore and death.
And it ain't going to teach you anything, so don't worry about that.
And we're not trying to lecture you or teach you anything. We're
not really judging you. We just want your 10 cents.
Yeah, we're just trying to scare the crap out of little kids. That's all it is. And they're great. And so the story concepts are just ludicrous sometimes, but there's a feeling of dementia in them that's just wonderful. So anyway, I got all the PS Publishing hardcover reprint collections, and I've read them all, and they're just wonderful. But
yeah, Brian does have a great collection of pre-code horror that I didn't know I wanted until I started talking to Brian. So there you go.
Yeah, these are fun, but these are my little treasures in my collection that I'm just
And my
Proud-
stack
proud
right
to have.
here that I'm not going to move because it'll fall. I have been buying those Atlas comic collections of like their horror collection and
I mean, get a load of that.
Man.
and
Of course, it looks dark because it's in the plastic. I just don't want to take it out. But like,
yeah, I don't blame you.
but I mean, look this cover up online if you want. Like these zombies are great.
And Marcus over here has been posting these romance covers by Matt Baker, and I gotta
Oh
say,
yeah,
I really want to get some of those comics. I need to know where I could get some Matt Baker. I didn't realize how much I liked it until I started seeing it now.
there's art books of his now too, and PS Publishing did a whole. I got him over here. The hardcover collections of his Phantom Lady comics. He's terrific.
Yeah, I
There's
bought
so many of those pre-code people that people don't know about. Robert Webb is one of my favorite. Has become one of my favorite artists from looking at the pre-code horror stuff. I mean, he's amazing.
Let you know, I finally got the last two Evil Eye comics that I was missing.
All right, yeah.
I had to. I couldn't find them anywhere, so I had to pay a premium on Mile High Comics. They will have it, but you are paying so much money for it.
Right.
So here's my next choice. I forget, Fabrizio, did I show this last time we talked? Because I
No.
talk about this comic. I've got this comic in one of those three you go to like a supermarket, there's 3 comics in a bag, and I think it was this Fantastic Four, and then in the middle was probably like I don't know, like Richie Rich or something like that, and I love this comic, and this was my introduction to the Wizard, which to this day makes me giggle that his name is the Wizard and he wears a yellow costume. Like at work, I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm the Wizard, and I giggle. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. But I just love everything about it. It's just insanity going on. Like, why is it? You can't really see it, but the Wizard's face is insane.
Mm-hmm.
He's punching Yellow Jacket in the nuts. Can't grab him. Iron Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's just chaos going on, and then and this like my introduction. Like, I still love that Yellow Jacket costume. You would talk about Firestorm.
Mhm.
I'm sure. I mean, everybody probably understands what I'm talking about, but there's nothing like a cool costume to just drag you into a character. I freaking love Yellow Jacket. He's my favorite out of all the Hank Pym incarnations. That costume is just awesome.
Yeah, well, I was always an Iron Man fan, and look at him on this one.
He
looks great.
Weird inking, like it really doesn't make any sense, those black lines, but it does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then the inside, it's George. I think it's either John Byrne or George Perez. I forget. Inked by Pablo Marcos. So, it's just so. Look at Captain America's shield. It's like weirdly off. That star.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just everything about this. I just love. It's just action. The anatomy's off. The perspective's off. Like, look at that room.
The composition is awesome. He's framed in that little triangle. Cap's arm, the laser from Iron Man.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Yep.
I say that to people. Like if you argue, Kirby, the women aren't attractive. Okay, the anatomy's off. Okay, the perspective is off. Okay, but everybody agrees the action is just that makes up for all of his foibles or failures. Al Milgrom layout, Kirby pencils, Milgrom inks. There you go. There you go. Hey Matt, how you doing? How you doing, Matt? Good to see you.
This guy Marcus knows his stuff.
He really does.
I appreciate that.
That's what I said. He's my fact checker. Anthology stories don't always need a moral, but they should have a point. But it's difficult to get people to care about things in a short story. Yeah, I'm with Brian on this. Like, I'm reading all the eerie and creepy comics, and at the end, it's just like, and if he just was a good person, this wouldn't have happened. It's like, I just want to see a monster rip somebody's head off. Like, there's 4 stories in every comic. Can you have one that just doesn't have like a morality tale? So I'm going to stop the screen because we only got 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes. Because
I got 2 left.
Yeah. So
I'll do one real quick. Why not? All right. So this is probably a famous one, but I still wanted to do it.
Oh yeah.
Just because I love Gold Armor Thor, and I don't know how controversial that is.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I don't dislike it, but my favorite is the classic because that's just the way I am. I don't like change, ladies and gentlemen.
Because at this time, you know, he gets a real weakness with his brittle bones and all that stuff. So it really, at least for me, you know, at my age, it's the first time I've seen Thor in sort of like a fragile state. And the interiors, I think, are Sal. Yeah, and I know Sal is also people. I love the Thor run with Sal. A lot of people don't, but you know,
I like his stuff.
Like Brian, when what's his name, Raphael left Fire, I quit Thor in a rage when Walt Simonson left, but I went back and got them all. I did like this because this was Walt Simonson making Thor more of the mythological Thor. Like, I got to get him into armor. He has the gauntlets and he has the strength belt. You know, you can't go wrong with Simonson. I agree.
Yeah, I was gonna just avoid Simonson because it's almost like cheating, but you know, this is one of my all-time favorites.
And again, this is what you talk about, how difficult it is to just have a central figure on the cover, and here we are. Look at how many of our favorite comics have a central figure on the cover,
and just a light purple background, like
yeah, it is striking.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, I sometimes I wish I got to get like that I forget what it is, but there's a website that RJ always used that just tells you what came out on the newsstand, like what was competing with this on the newsstand. You know, I can't imagine that thing was more eye catching than this.
And the funniest thing, I don't know what year is this, but whatever. I remember trying to draw this and never really understanding these things. They were just shapes. You know what I mean? They never made sense to me until much later. I'm like, oh, I think I get it. But most of the time, there's these giant like black spades. So
it's funny. I was gonna say whose phone keeps going off, but it's mine. Like I'm still getting a million comments on that video today.
Oh wow!
It's like comment after comment after comment. So whose turn? It's Brian. Your turn, right?
Am I next?
Yeah.
All right. Here is one of my favorite comic book covers of all time, and it's the original. This Tales from the Crypt with this slimy zombie.
Oh wow! What number is this?
This is number 40.
Wow.
And again, being in plastic and on this camera makes it look darker for some reason. But if you saw it in person, this is the most beautiful shade of turquoise aqua green here. I'm not taking it out of the plastic because
what year is that?
This is from 1954.
Nice.
Yeah, this is another one I got when they weren't too expensive. But I just always love this cover.
Oh,
this diver in.
So a clam is opening up, and there's a zombie inside the clam.
Yeah, this guy is diving, and look at these. Look at these scary. This is Jack Davis, by the way. I should have mentioned.
Oh, from Mad Magazine.
Yeah, and being Jack Davis with his humor. Look at these scared little fish. Like, let's get out of here. but yeah, the guy is diving, and he's found this big oyster, and it's opening up, and you get this beautifully decomposed zombie. I've stared at this so many times you wouldn't believe it. Look at the ribs. The rib cage right here. Yeah. But to me, the stretchy, gooey, bright green slime.
Yeah, it's stuck to the inside of the clam. So he's just been digesting in there for untold.
Yeah, you can see how this might have influenced my horror art too, because I always do the gooey slime.
And look at that. There's like a trilobite on the bottom.
Yeah, something down here, yeah.
It's only been extinct for a billion years. I'll just throw it in.
But yeah, this is one of my all-time favorite covers ever. But check this one out in person. This shade, I've been trying to capture this shade of aqua green turquoise in my illustrations forever because it's perfect.
Is this Silver Age? I don't know. This is like on the threshold of Golden Age and Silver Age.
Pre-code. Right? So I think it's before Silver Age, right?
Yeah, so pre-code, it would definitely be Golden Age, yeah. Jack Davis, young when he was pumping out this greatness, yeah. What is this comment? Walt Simonson proved to me you don't need to be photorealistic to be an awesome. Yes. Because, yeah, Walt Simonson was like boxy. You know what I mean? Boxy and scratchy. It's my turn?
Mm-hmm.
Me? Share screen. Do I have... Oh, okay, I got to change the file. This one, Fabrizio, let me know if I showed this one already. But this is just one of my favorite covers of all time.
Oh,
You know,
that is a great one.
Yeah.
first off, because there was a folder with this cover on, and it was like the Avengers with the Squadron Supreme, and then this. And I forget, this one might have been the folder where I put comic books in to bring to school, and the other folder with the Avengers, I think, was schoolwork. But man, I think I got the folder before I got the comic, so I didn't know who the Inhumans were.
Mm,
And that pose of the Thing, oh my god,
yes.
that's been on Slurpee cups, that's been
Mhm.
Yeah.
on lunch boxes, and just look at all of these characters. That Black Bolt is just great. Just
Yeah.
walking behind him. You got Reed Richards stretching.
Hmm.
Everybody's in motion. Triton is just like, what are they doing? Are they stopping the Thing? That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
He's on a rampage. It's so good. And the funny thing is, when you read this comic, it's like you could see the point where they ran out of time and then just rushed to finish it. Like the art just deteriorates instantly. So
I also wonder if this cover might have been an inspiration for Art Adams, because he always does those great covers with all the characters running at you. You know what I mean? Or if that's just a Marvel thing, probably. But if you're a Thing fan, this issue is a must own.
I make my no secrets. The Thing is my second favorite. I always say Superman, but when I say Superman, I put Captain Marvel, Superman, or basically.
But that's like me saying Firestorm's my favorite member of the Justice League. Of course after Batman, because everybody loves Batman first. But
But Superman and then the Thing.
but
Superman.
the one that's the most personal connection with you is
It's probably the Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Thing probably has the best. Not probably, definitely has the most personal connection, because I was a little chubby weirdo kid. It's like,
Weren't we all?
I had like bouts of confidence, but for the most part, it was fake it till you make it kind of thing. So I always I hate to say I identify with this, but I don't look, well, maybe I did look like the Thing. I don't know. But his whole I'm a hideous freak. What kid doesn't feel like a hideous freak, especially when they're going through puberty and you know what I mean, and asking out a girl and they laugh at you. You know what I mean? Right, guys? Girls laughed at you when you asked them out too, not just me, right?
Well,
I'm not the only.
Not ringing a bell.
Fabrizio was just like me. We're going on a date, girl.
So this is like a little minor artsy thing, but if you ever want to because the Thing is coming towards you, and to do a leg like that is tough. So if you just want to make the bottom leg go down, just make it black. That's one of the most. It's not a trick, but man, just make from the knee down black, and immediately goes down.
It pushes it back in space.
Yeah.
John, this monster. Yep. This monster.
Good one.
and I love how it's askew too. They're not running on the flat. You know what I mean? It's
right. Dutch angle.
Dutch angle. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah.
Somebody said you have to do a cover with 9 pages. I'm like, it's impossible.
Look at that. And the Human Torch. I don't know. Human Torch has always been my least favorite member of the Thing, because. I mean, the least favorite member of the Fantastic Four, because he has the least pathos.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else has some sort of problem. So who's next?
Is it me again? Yeah. This is just in honor of John's recent interview with JR. I had to pick something from the Nascenti Typhoid Mary run.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you guys actually talked about it in the interview. One of my favorite things about JR is his beating up of characters. It's one of my favorite things. And just this torn costume, all the bad guys that are about to beat him up or have been beating him up over the past couple of issues. And I think this is Al Milgrom, right? Al Williamson.
And what year is that?
I feel like I was in high school when Nascenti was writing it. During this run? Has to be late 80s.
I think it's, late 88. So.
88.
Yeah, that's it.
Look at that smackable smug face on Typhoid Mary. You know, she's just like,
She's great though.
Yeah.
I love that character.
It's like borderline cartoony evil, but man, I love it.
Mhm.
the guy with the purple hair and the bat. You know, he's sticking his
Bushwhacker. I forget who's that guy. I can't even remember some of these guys' names, but yeah, just one of my favorite books. This whole chunk of Daredevil was so good.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
How much else?
Brian, do you got one?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I got one more, right? Okay, so this is kind of in the spirit of my new art book. Tales of Voodoo. This is the eerie pubs I was talking about.
Look at that.
Wow.
That's just like Mad Monster Party going on.
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. You got the girl in peril. The zombie's grabbing her. The Wolfman is coming to get her. Frankenstein is stabbing Dracula with a spike.
Yeah.
It's just mayhem. It's just pure horror for horror's sake. Frankie's got blood all over his face. Wolfman's got blood all over his mouth. It's just... of course, his guts are showing.
Yeah, there's no logical theme to that cover. It's just... Yeah, I'm going to draw a Wolfman going after Dracula getting stabbed by Frankenstein.
Right.
Why? What do you mean why? It's awesome. That's why.
Yeah, that's why. And I mean, like they say superheroes are the young male power fantasy. Well, for me, like monsters were the young male power fantasy. So for a monster kid, that's just pure awesomeness.
Look at that werewolf's face. He's just like Dracula. It's just like what?
Yeah, but he has bat wings.
Yeah,
it's just awesome. Look at the loving detail on this flap of torn flesh.
So
yeah, look at that.
So I have never seen like a letterbox that dripped before. That is the coolest thing.
You know what, Fabrizio?
Yeah, that's the only thing. Somebody needs to get punched in the nuts. Put in there and punch a werewolf in the nuts.
Two comics have dripping text boxes. Tales of Voodoo and Wolf and Batsy.
Look at that. It's dripping on the skeleton. I thought the skeleton had a knife coming through him. But
no, it's dripping on it. It's going to be
cool.
And I got to say, first off, somebody asked who drew that. So who drew that? And second thing is, I think this is why every comic book fan has a thing for redheads. I mean, like, look, there's redheads everywhere in comic books. Look at that.
And not only is she a redhead, she has a big old scar on the side of her face.
Oh, wow, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you have to have horror in every inch of the drawing.
Well, yeah, she's got a scar on her thigh, almost like.
Yeah.
So is she like a bride of Frankenstein?
She's from a rough background. That's all.
Yeah.
Rough part of the village.
Yeah.
Did Dr. Frankenstein like put some like corpse material in those boobs? Because those things are defying gravity.
Right. Well, she's kind of laying down. But the thing is, like, these things are so underground that for a long time it was a mystery, like who did a lot of the art. But they have recently come out with some history books on eerie pubs, and I got them back there, and I have read them, but it's been a little while, so I got to double check them, and I'll find out the name of the artist for you, because this was the signature guy that did a lot of the best covers.
It reminds me of that. Why can't I think of his name? Brereton, that's doing comics today.
Dan Brereton.
Yeah, Dan Brereton. It reminds me of him.
The goal is for it to remind you of me, John.
Okay.
This is the spirit of what I'm trying to do.
It reminds me of Brian Bow.
Thank you.
In the room full of monsters, the scary wall is a woman.
Her scars.
I wasn't looking at her scars. Those 50s horror comics always had great looking babes. Absolutely.
Look, they were so cheap, they would print the last page of the last story on the back cover.
Wow.
Yeah. These things are so much fun. I got a stack of these things.
Well, I hope people say this scar or no scar. I like her. I hope they say the same thing about Mary Sue.
Look at this insanity.
Wow.
I mean, that's fun stuff. All right, who's last?
Fabrizio?
I think Are you sure? I thought it. No, I'm done.
Oh, you done? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect timing because I got to close this down because RJ's going to be. We're going to do so. We got a bunch of people watching. I'm just going to shut this stream down, and then RJ from the fourth. Do you guys want to join us? Do you guys want to keep going? And I'll send you the link and join me and RJ. We're just going to talk about comics.
I might be able to join you for a little bit.
Okay, I'll put the link.
Actually, I need to go say goodnight to the kid. Then I'll join you.
Yeah, we'll have a minute too. Join. Why not? This is fun. And Brian, did you ever play any White Wolf role playing games? Well,
I did.
We'll answer that on the next stream because I don't want to keep RJ waiting.
Okay.
All right, but thanks a lot, everybody, and I'll send you guys the invite.
See ya.
All right, just give me a minute to change over, everybody.